Hey, what's up? This is Scott with Level Up Tutorials, and in this video, we're going to be creating our Webpack configuration file. Now, this configuration file is going to be very basic, and like I said, this isn't going to be a full-on tutorial about Webpack. However, I will be explaining what I'm doing as I'm doing it. By the end of this, we will have a website going, although it's going to be very blank. So let's get started right now. We should have all of our dev dependencies and our dependencies ready, and now we can go ahead and start with our config file for Webpack. We can just name this simply as webpack.config.js. Now in here, we're going to use module.exports. So basically in our exports here, we just have an object. Now we have things like entry. That's essentially just going to point to our actual development code, which of course we don't actually have anything right yet. So what we can do is simply have a new folder in our base, and it can be src. And inside of src, we can make a new file, and this can simply just be app.js. I'm using a capital A, not that it matters. I know we have the output of this is going to be app.js with a lowercase a, and that might get confusing. You might want to change that yourself. I personally do not mind. And what we're going to be looking at for the entry is simply just an array. And inside of the array, we're going to have a string with the path to app.js. The path being ./src/app.js. Okay, so this is where it's going to essentially look for our project is source.app.js. And we're going to then define the output, which we already know is going to be lowercase app.js in the root of our project, because that's where HTML is going to be looking for that script. So we need to define Webpack to say, hey, output that stuff into the home directory. So we can say path, and then we can do 2 underscores, dir name, comma. Now we want file name, which is going to be the name of the outputted file, which is going to be a string, which we just want to be app.js. Remember, this is what index.html is looking for, app.js in the root of our project structure. Okay, so we now have app.js in our output, and it should be outputting to the root. Now, once more, we have a comma, and the last is going to be module. So we can type in module, and module is going to be looking for loaders, which so we can say inside of this object, we can say loader, and then loader : is going to be looking for an array of an object. Now inside of this object, we'll say test. Now test is where we're going to be saying, hey, // .jsx $, and this is just basically a pattern to say look for any JSX files. Now what do we do with JSX files? Well, we have a loader, and that particular loader is going to be Babel. So Babel is now going to handle any sort of JSX file that we need, and it will compile it correctly. Now I'm just going to wrap all this off with a semicolon because I like to make sure I have those. And although we have nothing really going on here, let's actually just try to run our simple dev server. So if we head to our terminal, we can actually look in a particular folder in our node packages. So what we want to say is node modules, and then inside of node modules, we're going to be looking for a .bin folder. So .bin, and we're going to be now looking for Webpack-dev server. So you should be able to find inside of node modules.bin Webpack dev server, and that's going to run our dev server. Like I said, this is a simple dev server, and it looks like bundle is now valid. So now if everything went all right, you should be able to head to your browser, head to localhost :8080, and you'll see that your app is loading. You're not getting any sort of errors. The only error I'm getting is saying that it can't find a favicon, and that's quite all right. Now, if we head to Sublime Text, we do not see app.js here, but what we do see is that it is, in fact, loading app.js correctly, and it has some real basic Webpack stuff in here we don't need to quite worry about. But as you can see, the application's correctly getting app.js despite it not actually writing any sort of file, which is good for us. But all we need to know is that it is in fact getting this file, and that means we can move on. So what you should have, again, is a package.json file that looks like this with these versions. If you're not using these versions, I cannot make sure that it's going to work. We have Webpack config.js, which is going to be looking like this. Make sure you have all of your commas, your brackets, and everything completed. Strings where there should be strings, and things like this where we have a regular expression here. Make sure this is all correct. Cool. So now that we have that ready, we're going to be starting to dive into app.js. And app.js is where we're going to start defining our components. And we're going to then be breaking out those components into new smaller components. We're going to start talking about how you start thinking and developing in components, parent-child relationships, that sort of thing. So as always, this is Scott with Level Up Tutorials. If you have any questions or comments, leave a comment in the video or hit me up at Twitter or Facebook at Level Up Tutorials. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.